Hello, Rachel here. Welcome to my Slow TV Stitchery. Well, good morning everybody. Thank you for joining me. And we are continuing to creep towards that corner. The day of reckoning is at hand. At least, I hope so. It is, of course, a good deal chillier now, but that means I have nice, even light rather than bouncing cross light of sunlight. She says, trying to be positive about it. I am wondering how much of what I've done I'm going to want to undo. The stool that Akhenaten is sitting on doesn't have the strength of the one that Nefertiti's sitting on, which I think is much the better look. So I need to either undo it or emphasize it with extra stitching. And there's his kilt. The white isn't white enough when you compare it with Nefertiti's. I might try going over it, but it might be easier simply to undo the whole thing and start again. The reason I didn't use the full 18 filaments to begin with was that I wanted to minimize the variation, the additional variation in the direction of the spiral, because I thought it might start to look untidy, just chaotic, unthought through. And I'm all about thinking through what I'm doing. Whatever I do in a design is for a reason. There's always something behind it somewhere. And when that is the case, you rather resent looking as though you haven't thought it through. So that was the reason for picking half thickness, and in most cases it's worked very well. The flesh colour hasn't needed to be any thicker. The red is vibrant enough, the turquoises and the blues work very well. It's just with the white that I've got the problem. Playlist today is violin music, and we're starting off with a Franco-Slovenian, I think, called Nemanja Radulovic, who is really quite astonishing. The Bach double is I like his version of it, but it's not as special as some of the other stuff on this CD. I learnt the violin as a child. I'm not good, but I have listened to some very good players over the years, and this one impresses me a lot. So we call that the end of that one. I'm also wondering whether to fill in some of Nefertiti's with a slightly different shade of brown so that it looks less skeletal and sketchy. And do I even working out the lighting for any eventual display of this piece is going to be exciting. You want something to be at its best if you're showing people. And it's so easy to kill a picture with bad lighting. would think, when you consider that I've been wrangling 27 needles at a time at various points in this project, you would think that only 2 needles would be easier to manage. And it's actually not felt that way at all. I feel as though these 2 are almost as much trouble as the previous 27 all put together. However, this is getting very close to the corner, isn't it? Getting quite exciting. However, what I was still thinking about was the question of the stealer, if that's how I present it. How else could I present it that carried the weight that I want? I think something like a box top. It demands too much of the viewer. You have to come and hang over it to see it at its best. So vertical. And certainly freestanding stealer would be a more interesting sight than If anyone could think of some other way of doing it, please let me know, because I feel as though I'm stuck on making a pillar and covering it with velvet, which almost feels like not much thought's gone into it. And we know that isn't true, but I don't want it to look careless. So I think what I've learnt here is that it takes longer to get to the corner than you expect it to. Because I thought that the rows were going to shorten enough, quickly enough, in fact, that I would have this corner finished last time. And that has turned out not to be the case. The other thing that I think I've learnt is that I use the wire that reaches the thread that's reaching to the spool to help me to manipulate and control the thread that I'm actually stitching. So if I had cut it off short earlier, I think I would have had a harder time with these last couple of turns. I think it's much easier when you have right. Now then, this needs to be held firmly before I can think about cutting it. But that is finished. And before anyone asks how I'm going to sign this one, don't ask, I don't know yet. I think it may have to be signed on the mount. Oh no, I've got my goldwork scissors and they won't be damaged by cutting metal thread. They are in fact conceived for exactly that purpose. That's all for this episode. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed following along. Happy stitching!